Hey, my name's David Robson, and I'm going to give a talk on maintaining openness and passion while trying to also maintain a discipline, sadhana. Sadhana means your spiritual path. It's the technique that you use to work towards self-realization. Sadhana can be anything, but for me, it's Ashtanga yoga. And Ashtanga yoga, if you know anything about it, you know it's got a lot of rules. So we practice 6 days a week. We only take 1 day off, and we do the same thing pretty much every day. At first, I see this in students, and I saw it in myself. At first, there's a lot of changes, and it's really fun and easy in some ways. It's so joyful. But over time, if you can imagine, doing the same thing day after day can start to create a little bit of resistance. You start to feel like, oh, maybe I don't want to practice today, or maybe I want to stay up late tonight. If you're practicing daily, usually we do it in the morning too, you have to go to bed pretty early, and you have to let go of a lot of the things that you might like to do when you stay up a bit later, like drinking wine or beer or something, or eating snacks at night, things like that. A lot of those choices that you have to make over time, they can start to seem like a bit of a drag, and the discipline becomes a lot less joyous. You start to get a little unhappy. If you're like me, though, once you commit, once you're in, you're kind of all in too. So what I found that happened for me was that I was going to make that commitment to doing Ashtanga no matter what, but I started to get like a little bit grumpy about getting up in the morning, and about the austerity of the practice or the discipline. And the grumpiness kind of manifested as like judgment almost, like, well, you should be doing it too. Everyone should be doing it. Everyone should make the same choices I make, which is ironic, right? I'm doing this practice to be more alive and more present, more open, more connected, more joyful, but it's turning me into someone who's more uptight, more strict, and more of an asshole. Eventually, I kind of broke down. I was making choices that I wasn't really connected to. I was practicing more from a place of should than want to. And when I realized I was doing that, I stopped practicing, or at least I stopped practicing with as much intensity. I never really totally ever gave up on Ashtanga so far in my career of practice, but there have been times when I've definitely stepped away from my sadhana, from the authentic sort of step-by-step progression along the path, more like going through the motions. What's happened each of those times that I've stopped really sort of authentically walking that path is that I've gone back to the place where I was when I started yoga. And that was a place where my mind is turbulent. I'm not really at peace. I'm not really very happy with myself. And I'm reminded each time that that's happened about why I started. And I started to become a more peaceful and better person. And practice does give me that. Doing the daily practice does reorient me. Every morning I get on my mat and I'm reminded about what I want, what I need to be my highest self. And when I sort of lose track of the reason I'm getting on the mat and I stop getting on it, I kind of quickly descend back into that place of unhappiness. And so maybe you can, maybe you can learn from my mistake, or maybe you have to go through it yourself a few times, the cycle of it. But when I am now confronted by resistance in myself, when I don't want to practice, or when I'm getting fed up or uptight about it, I remind myself about what it's like without practice, or why I started practice. And I know I'm happier with it. I know that decision has brought me to a better place. And really, in some ways, I'm just undermining the process every time I have to reenact that sort of cycle of doubt. When I step away from the path and step back on it. And now I know, okay, these are short-term questions. When I want to stay up later, when I want to have a beer, sometimes I can do that, and I can still continue my practice in the morning. But really, those are like very passing pleasures, versus the longer and deeper happiness that I get from doing the daily discipline of the practice. So now it's a lot easier for me to live a more austere life because it comes always from a place of choice. I want to, from a place of passion, not from an idea of I should or I'm better because I do this. I'm not necessarily better. I'm just happier. I'm just more connected. And I think we have to get out of the idea of discipline in the sense of someone else enacting discipline over us. We have to discipline ourselves. The passion has to come from want, from desire. We can't be disciplined into wanting something. We have to choose that. So you have to feel that your practice is making you happy. You have to understand that, and then your choices for practice are based on that happiness, on that decision. So this is the kind of cycle of thought that I go through every time that I feel like I don't want to practice, or why can't I do that? Why can't I stay up late, or why can't I do this? I can do those things. It's just most of the time I choose not to. And I choose not to because my peace of mind is more important to me than momentary pleasure. Some of the things that I do that make it easier for me to keep doing the practice every day is I always try to practice around the same time. And what I learned a long time ago was that I have to clear my schedule for practice. So if I schedule things and then I have to figure out how to squeeze a practice in between those other commitments, then chances are it's not going to happen, or if I do, it's going to be stressful. So that's a really good reason for an early morning practice. If you can get up before all the other obligations begin, then you can have your own time to do the practice. If you can't do that, do your best to schedule a window every day, a 2-hour window. And you just make it's 2 hours that you never let anything else, kind of another appointment, go into. And that way you've set up at least that space so that practice is going to happen, the potential. Also, don't think that you need to do your, full practice every day. In Ashtanga, yes, we do the same practice. We're going through the same sequence. But, my full practice is long, is like 2 hours long. And some days, for whatever reason, sometimes due to injury or just really tired, low energy, I can't do my full practice. Then I still get on my mat, and maybe it's just sun salutations and the last 3 postures, or just standing. I travel a lot, makes it really difficult to maintain the steady practice, but I try to do something every single day. And I find that, again, orients me each day. It helps remind me of the choices I've made so far, just that it makes me happier. With the practice, my day is going to go smoother and better. Another thing that can help with a daily practice is finding the same space. So I have a studio. I go to the studio every day. That's my same space. But if you don't have a studio, somewhere in your house, you set up an altar, or you put up a picture of your teacher or Guruji if you're practicing Ashtanga. Any kind of element that says, this is where I practice. This is my special spot. And you're more likely to go there each day, I think, to practice. And it is important to practice every single day and try to overcome gently and with passion the resistance that you feel. Try not to let the doubt influence your decision to practice. Because what happens over time is you begin to strengthen the positive thought, the positive habit of practicing, and you weaken the doubts. You can use habit to help you do a daily practice. And having that discipline daily over time, you start to see the cycles in your mind. You start to see the way that the doubts come up, but they fall away again. They don't really make a difference. You get some kind of freedom from those thoughts. We say in yoga, it's a discipline of freedom. So I hope this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you can work towards doing a daily practice. I've got other videos on Ashtanga, and I hope you watch those too. I'm David Robson.